Welcome to the meeting of the Special Licensing Objections Committee. We have just started recording the meeting. For the benefit of the recording, I'll just do a quick roll call. If members could confirm they are present. Councillor Copeland.
Present.
Councillor Cross.
Present.
Councillor Delaney.
Present.
Councillor Houghton.
Present.
Councillor John.
Present.
Thank you. The first item of business on the agenda is the appointment of a convener. This committee hasn't met for some time to appoint a convener. Are there any nominations?
Yeah, I'll nominate Councillor Delaney.
Councillor Delaney.
I would nominate Councillor Houghton.
Do we? Okay, we have two nominations. So we'll just have a straight vote unless there are any other nominations. Okay, if you could just state Delaney or Houghton. Councillor Copeland.
Delaney.
Councillor Cross.
Houghton.
Councillor Delaney.
Delaney.
Councillor Houghton.
Houghton.
Councillor John.
Houghton.
That's 3 votes for Councillor Houghton, 2 votes for Councillor Delaney. Councillor Houghton is therefore appointed convener. I'll hand over to you, Councillor Houghton.
Thank you, Mr. Orchard, and thanks to everyone for coming together in such short notice. I turn to item 2, which is termination of urgent business. I don't believe we have any. Turn to item 3, there's no exempt business I'm aware of. Turn to item 4, declarations of interest. Do any members have any interest they'd like to declare? I see no hands. Turning now to item 5, which is the only item of business that we have, which is the application relating to the premises as in the agenda pack. Do any members have any questions? Put your hands up and I'll take people in as I see them. Sorry, is that Councillor? I'm seeing no hands. Sorry, Councillor Delaney, do you have your hand up there? Apologies.
No, I don't. No.
Apologies. It's your orange tie. It's looking like an orange hand on my screen. Apologies. Could I just a question that I'd have is just to understand if any objections have been received by Police Scotland or NHS or Public Health or anyone else, so not representations, but have there actually been any objections by statutory consultees?
Unfortunately, I'm unable to answer that in detail. I don't have access to that information. Objections or representations are gathered by a licensing team, and then those will form the board papers for that meeting this afternoon. I couldn't answer it accurately, I'm afraid. That's
fine. And then I guess another one from myself, unless I see any of the colleagues asking, is just has the Special Licensing Objections Committee ever been used to determine an occasional licence before?
Not that I'm aware of. The committee hasn't met for, I think, about 5 years, and the procedure for it is based mostly on premises licences. So we're using it for an occasional licence today is quite novel.
Thank you. Councillor Delaney.
Yes, thank you, convener. My understanding, and it's just for clarification really, is that the council is a statutory consultee in the case of liquor licences, and as such it is right and proper that this committee convenes and considers this matter if it chooses to do so. Is that correct?
It's entirely up to the council, absolutely, to convene and determine whether they want to have an objection or not. In terms of the legislation, this council is named as a consultee for premises licences. It's not expressly named as a consultee for occasional licences. However, it's within the power of the councillors to meet and lodge an objection if they so wish.
That's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Do any other colleagues have any other questions? Councillor Delaney's hands up, but I'm assuming that's from your previous question. Yeah. unless no, okay, cool. In that case, I guess we come to the kind of the formalisation. Is anyone seeking to propose anything that they would wish to circulate? I'm seeing no hands. Okay. Councillor Delaney.
Yes, convener. I would be proposing that we object to this licence on the basis that it breaches quite a number of the licensing principles, and I'd be happy to speak to that. Thank you.
Councillor Delaney, do you have something to circulate for members to read? Or
no, convener. It's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
That is the basis as outlined on the officer's slide.
Okay. And Councillor Copeland, do you have a separate item you wish to move?
No, I'll simply second Councillor Delaney.
Okay. I've heard what Councillor Delaney is proposing. I'll be proposing that that this committee takes no action in this instance. Unless anyone else has anything to propose, I'm happy to speak to that once I receive a seconder.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor John. All I would just say is that I feel that we're taking a very peculiar step. I know what Councillor Delaney's kind of surmised, that of course the council has every right to do so. However, to use the council in this way for one specific premises, when we have a licensing board sitting this afternoon, feels peculiar to me. I understand there is definitely a lot of public concern relating to videos around premises on the night of a football game where a once in a generation, some might say, goal was scored, and the people were very excitable. However, I also saw videos of many premises in Aberdeen displaying pretty much the same behaviour, and to my knowledge, there's no other requests come through for us to determine any other premises occasional licence. So I'm a little bit concerned that we seem to be singling out one single premises. And the board's meeting this afternoon. We have the public health officials, we have the police officials who I feel would be best placed to make objections, and based on evidence and based on the facts as they know them, as they're involved in dealing with these matters on a routine basis, as opposed to us kind of, what seems to me perceptively getting together off the back of media, kind of media interest, and this one particular premises is focused. So for that reason, I'll be intending to move that we do not file an objection, and that this committee would take no action on this occasion. Councillor John, I believe, to second.
I would just like to formally second. No speech from me.
Councillor Delaney.
Yes, thank you very much, convener. We've all seen the videos and other postings on social media, and in the middle of a health pandemic, it's very, very concerning what we've seen. This committee, it is very much in order for this committee to put forward an objection. The council, as a statutory consultee on licensing matters, I appreciate we have not done this on an occasional licence, but it's not specifically on the licence. The council is, as has been confirmed, perfectly within its rights to do so, and I feel that leadership has got to be shown at such a time. Now, it's understood that people were quite rightly euphoric at the Scotland game, given the excellent result. I understand that, but and convener, you mentioned yourself, we're not seeing any other premises come forward suggesting that we object to them. The premises with regard to occasional licences come up at different times, so clearly there's time cycles involved, and it may or may not be a decision to call another meeting. I don't know. All I'm saying is we shouldn't make presumptions. Now, we need to look at this particular incident in particular. Now, football matches are not exactly a new phenomenon, convener. And licensed premises, they're very, very much used to managing football matches, and managing them very well, to be perfectly honest. But unfortunately, these premises They found themselves unable to manage the situation, a situation which anyone could reasonably have foreseen. There was a lack of social distancing. There was shouting. There was singing. These are all breaches of COVID regulations, presenting serious threats to public safety and public health. Now, the disturbances were both inside and outside the event. They created a public nuisance, and indeed the police, I understand, had to be called for assistance. Very, very unfortunate when we consider the fact that the licensee should be in a position to manage the premises. Now, in Aberdeen, we quite rightly expect the very highest standards with regard to the management of our licensed premises, and quite rightly so, convener. In the hospitality sector, they're under an awful lot of pressure just now as a result of COVID, and incidents of this type, they really do let the sector down. One mistake when facing exceptional circumstances is, in my view, unfortunate, but twice demonstrates a complete disregard for public safety. A football match is not an exceptional event, but it's not the first time the COVID regulations have been breached by this premises. In August, we witnessed a complete disregard for COVID safe measures.
Councillor Dana, could I, at this stage, sorry, could I just bring in officers here? Because
Yes, certainly.
You're possibly talking about another premises in terms of a previous incident, but not necessarily this premises. Can I just clarify, because you seem to be...
I don't believe that to be the case, but yes.
So of course, you're only talking about this one individual premise in this one incident, so not previous incidents. Is that the case, just to get it clear?
There has been a previous incident at these premises, as we know, in August.
I believe that premises. Can I bring in officers, please?
Yes, please do.
As I don't normally sit in licensing, it's hard for me to answer this. I only know what's been reported in the press as well. We're obviously speaking about the draft project today. We're not speaking about any other premises.
I could put in here, the first one was not the draft project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, convener, can I ask for a little bit of clarification, and I will moderate what I say depending on the answer from the officer.
Sure, I invite Ms. Catherine to respond.
Thank you.
The first incident you're referring to was regards the Soul Bar. Draft project is a separate premises.
Can I just clarify that even though the applicant is the same person that owns both premises, does that or does that not come into this matter?
It doesn't really come into the matter because a premises license is a separate. Each premises is a separate license.
Okay, thank you, convener. If I'm permitted to continue, I will not make reference to that previous incident.
Thanks, Councillor Delaney, and thanks to officers.
I appreciate that. Thanks, convener. Okay, now countless hospitality venues in the city, they're working really hard to keep their customers and indirectly the whole population safe. Those who do not appear to be putting profit here, those who would not, certainly in my opinion, appear to be putting profit before people, and that, unfortunately, at difficult times like these, does in fact put lives at risk. Now, during a pandemic, we all need to take responsibility, we all need to work together, and we all need to keep our citizens safe. And this is the time when a council needs to show leadership and do right by its citizens. I'm very, very disappointed that we're going to be dividing over this today, because I would have felt that it would have been in the best interests of the citizens for us all to come together and to accept the fact things went wrong here, they shouldn't have happened, and that the council has got significant concerns, significant enough to raise them officially. Therefore, on the grounds of public safety, public health and public nuisance, I would move that we object to this licence. Thank you very much, convener.
Councillor Copeland, I believe, just a second.
Yes, thank you. Let me start by clarifying a few things. You said in your remarks, that other premises are doing similar things. Well, we're not dealing with other premises, and two wrongs don't make a right. The only reason we only have one premises on the agenda today is because this one has been fast-tracked at the request of the applicant. It should have really been held on Tuesday, but it's been brought forward to today, so we have one. The fact that there is only one doesn't mean to say that others won't necessarily become in the same way. That's the start. The second thing I would say is Councillor Delaney, I think, hit the nail on the head. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Public health should be at the forefront of everybody thinking. The scenes that were on social media from this premises, and it's only this premises that we are dealing with today, so I will restrict myself to this premises, are totally unacceptable. For instance, nobody was wearing face masks and jumping about. There was total mixing of people. They weren't keeping to the rule of 6. Now, I understand people being euphoric, go up and go, but there seemed to be a total lack of stewarding to maintain order in this premises. And that is extremely worrying. Busy bar, a very busy bar. Yet there didn't seem to be any way for the staff to control their customers. It was impossible to say who was sitting at which tables. There were very few people, but nobody that I saw the things wearing masks, and as I said, there's a total lack of stewarding. And it's a serious concern at this time. We've already had a lockdown in Aberdeen, which was directly to licensed premises. Now, I'm not saying it was this licensed premises or another licensed premises, but directly attributed to licensed premises. We don't want to see the same thing. We must make sure, on the grounds of public safety, that licensed premises are being run according to the guidelines, and they're being monitored, and all steps are being taken. Now, the vast majority of licensed premises in the city are complying with the rules. There appears to be some that are not. This occasion was unfortunate, but it was a typical example of, if you like, failing to plan, or failing to have adequate staff, or failing to be able to deal with the occasion. If you're going to take people in with big TVs to watch a football match, you need to have the correct staff and stewarding and rules in place to manage that crowd. This was severely lacking in this premises. Now, this is not a step I would take lightly, because it does affect people's livelihood, and I fully understand that. But the council has got to send out a strong message that we expect the rules to be followed. That message has to go out there, and everybody has to play their part in it. It's not okay for some and not okay for others. We must put out a strong message. Rules regarding COVID and licensing, occasional licenses, must be followed. Otherwise, they'll be withdrawn. I totally support Councillor Delaney's motion to not grant a renewal of this license. Thank you.
Obviously, just to Councillor Coleman, just to clarify, we're not deciding whether to grant a licence. We're deciding whether to file an objection. Just for clarity. Apologies, you're muted, Councillor Coleman.
Sorry, I thought I said, but if I didn't, I'll stand corrected. I fully support Councillor Delaney's motion to object to the granting of this licence on the public safety grounds.
Thank you, Councillor Copeland. Councillor, before we move to summing up, Councillor Cross, as you're the only one of the 5 of us not moving or seconding, do you wish to enter debate, Councillor Cross?
Thank you, Convener. I think the only point I wanted to question I wanted to ask is, how is there a current investigation underway to this particular incident, and how is that being dealt with, and would that form part of the normal licensing board committee this afternoon?
We're in debate, but I appreciate this isn't normal circumstances, so I'll invite Ms. Gathram just to answer that very specific point, if possible, or Mr. Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Convener. I just thought I'd maybe step in at this point. In terms of investigation, I presume you mean police investigation or council investigation? Let me just clarify.
Either.
Either. I'm aware from the media that the police did attend at the premises that night, and I believe the police have set out the facts as they understand them. So I don't believe there's an investigation going on in that regard. I know that environmental health colleagues have issued a direction to the premises regarding the removal of the televisions for a period of time. So there's been an investigation in that regard. Ms. Gatham, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that point.
I don't think we could tell them. We could give out any more on that termination.
That's fine. Thank you. I'll move to unless Councillor Cross, unless you have anything else to add in terms of debate, I'll probably move to Councillor Delaney to sum up for his motion.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cross. Councillor Delaney.
Thank you very much, convener. As has been said, and I think Councillor Copeland put it very well, we're in a pandemic at the moment, and it's difficult times for everyone. I understand that, but we clearly saw there was no social distancing, there was mixing of family groups, there was no wearing of face masks. This in a closely confined area is particularly dangerous, as we all know at the moment. If anyone was in those premises who had COVID, even perhaps asymptomatic, then that could trigger a spread. That could lead to a lockdown, which affects all citizens and all businesses in this city. Now, that's a serious concern to all of us, and that's why I'm very disappointed, convener, that on the grounds of public health, you were unable to support this. But nonetheless, I believe that an objection should be made by the council. I believe it needs to be sent out in the strongest of terms. And it isn't about just these premises. It's about these premises on this particular occasion. But clearly, it's also about getting the message across to all licensed premises that we all need to observe the COVID regulations. We need to keep our staff, customers, and more importantly of all, the whole general public safe. And the strongest message to send out is for this council to object to this occasional licence. Thank you, convener.
Thanks for summing up your position, Councillor Delaney. I'll sum up mine and then we'll move to the vote. I have heard what Councillor Delaney has said, and I listened, and I've heard what Councillor Copeland has said. I understand his regret that we've not been able to kind of come to the same view on this matter. I suppose we're kind of approaching it from two different ways. It appears to me that Councillor Delaney and Councillor Copeland, your determination seems to be that you've observed things in social media or reports in the press, and from there that's kind of formed your opinion. I prefer to take a slightly more conservative approach in that the police, the public health officials, etc., will file their objections or representations, and they themselves are the experts in the matter. We are not. Yes, we absolutely at all times need to be sending out clear messages in terms of tackling the pandemic. That's why the council as an organisation, is messaging all the time, be it on social media or elsewhere, is continually doing so. But as I've said in my opening remarks, I feel a little bit uncomfortable the way we seem to be using this device of the council. Now, I should make it clear for everybody here, and of course anyone watching after that, councillors can object. There's nothing stopping anyone on this committee or any citizen of Aberdeen objecting before 4 o'clock today, or to make a representation, and to do so they can do so through the licensing section on the council website. So no one, despite any decision made here today, we're not stopping anyone on this committee actually filing an objection. It's just that my position is I don't believe that the council should be being used as a vehicle like this to do so. Well, of course, it's entirely legitimate in terms of procedure, but it's not been done for 5 years, and it's never been done for an occasional license. It just seems a very odd method. Now, I pick up on one or two other points just for fact. Yes, I've seen the video, as I've said, people jumping around without face masks. Of course, you don't wear face masks when you're outside in a seated place. Now, of course, if you're moving around tables, they should have been wearing face masks. But this, I mean, this wasn't a conventional, everybody getting up and walking over to one side of the room. This was, at the end of a match, a once in a generation goal. Everyone erupted across, multiple places, and it's regrettable. It was mentioned, I believe, by Councillor Copeland that the police were called. Of course, my understanding from reading printed reports was that the police weren't called. The police were already in attendance because they have been making an effort to go around venues, especially on that night, knowing the football. So the police, there was planning in there, and venue staff ejected 4 people. So they did take action, and of course the police helped them do that. So I think it's important to frame it in the context that, this wasn't some event that happened and nobody cared about. The venue staff were actually getting people out of the venue, assisted by the police. And I think also, to be fair to the people, that the waitresses, the waiters, the servers, when that eruption of people happened, the idea that somebody's going to jump in and pull 50 or 60 people apart and start single filely marching them out of there, we need to be realistic about their own safety there. What seems to have happened is once the eruption calmed down, they started removing people with the assistance of the police. Now, this matter is going to be determined formally and properly at the licensing board this afternoon. I believe that's the proper place for that to happen. I'd encourage anyone who wishes to object to go ahead and do so through the normal procedures. And I note also that they've had the TVs taken away, which of course would limit their appeal, as you like, to clientele. So it's not as though the council, you speak that the council should send out a message. Well, the council has done something. It's reduced their offering on the premises, and now it's going to get full consideration in detail with all the facts, all the evidence, representations from the police, representations from public health, representations from council environmental services. That will happen later this afternoon with a document bundle with actual facts and details. I don't believe this is the correct place for it, and for that reason, I will be moving no action. Mr. Orchard, could we move to the vote, please?
Thank you, convener. The committee has before it a motion in the name of the convener, which is to take no action, and therefore no objection is submitted. The amendment is in the name of Councillor Donnelly to submit an objection on the grounds of public safety, public health, and public nuisance.
Definitely no. Delaney?
Yes, perhaps Councillor Delaney as opposed to Councillor Donnelly, Mr. Orchard.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Councillor Delaney. Sorry, I do apologise. So, could members please vote motion or amendment? Convener.
Apologies. Could you clarify that again? Sorry, I didn't quite. Did you say motion?
Sorry, yes. Could members please vote motion or amendment? The convener has the motion, and the amendment is with Councillor Delaney. Motion. Councillor Copeland.
Amendment.
Councillor Cross.
Motion.
Councillor Delaney.
Amendment.
Councillor John.
Motion.
The motion is successful with 3 votes, and the amendment has 2 votes. The motion therefore carries.
Please note my dissent.
Thank you, Mr.
And mine. I think the council has to send a message here, and I'm very disappointed.
Dissents, obviously, I'm sure Mr. Orchard will note that in a minute. Could I thank everybody for attending today? Thank Councillor Delaney and Councillor Copeland for substituting for their colleagues on the committee, and thank officers for pulling everything together in such a rapid speed. And thank you to everyone who's facilitated today's meeting. The meeting's now adjourned. Thank you.